Hey,
What up, bro?
hey, how you doing, sir?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
Good to see you. Good to see you, big bro.
It's great to see you, youngster. How's everything been? How are the kids? How's everything?
Everything's good. With virtual learning, it's a little bit different, but
Yeah,
the kids, you got to just be there for the kids mentally. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know, man. It's been a tough sort of stretch for the kids, man. Imagine if they would have took away basketball and our ability to hang out and go outside and be in social circles when we were coming up. I put myself in their shoes. Like, sometimes I personally get a little hard on that generation because my kids are of that generation. But then
Yeah.
this past year really just opened my eyes to the strength of the youth, man. For them to keep it together and still be positive and still be optimists says a lot.
Yeah, it's going to build mental resiliency, but for us, I think it's important. Am I here?
Yeah, you're here. I'm sorry. Yep, you're here. I missed you. You kind of broke up a little bit there, but go ahead.
No, you good. I think it's important. I think it's important to keep these kids focused, man, and out the streets, because I can't imagine where I would have ended up without sport.
Absolutely. And you have a really, really good, interesting story from start to finish. I mean, we're going to cover that, try to get through that. Just talk a little bit about growing up in Kansas City and where you were, Wyco, what is it, Wyandotte County?
Yeah, Wyandotte
Yeah.
County, man. I grew up in one of the poorest counties in the country. So, for me, it's just that just says it all, survival, trying to figure it out. Um, Grew up in streets, like playing basketball outside. It's like everywhere. Your friends grow up, you playing sports. People break off. Some people stay with sports. Some people stay in the streets and not playing sports, become a street sport. So I was very lucky.
Absolutely. Coming up, what type of things, people in your life kind of kept you on the right path?
I gotta say, God, man, I was very blessed to always be in the gym and be in practice to keep me out of things that would happen on the weekends. And if it wasn't for basketball, it's not a lot of options when you grow up in a city with very few. It's a food bank. It's like a food desert. It's very few grocery stores, very few options, very few jobs, and then you turn to whatever you can do to survive. So it's kind of like a Krebs cycle of not having and then surviving.
Absolutely. And that's a heck of a roller coaster to be on. Um, Eventually, graduated high school, became a highly recruited athlete, attended UCLA. Just quickly, just kind of talk about what you gained from the UCLA experience, what you learned being a Bruin.
Man, I mean, y'all took me in. I came to UCLA because of you. I don't know if you remember, but I talked to you on the phone, and you was just so inviting, but also knew you had an edge to you. And you had this thing where you had to wear like like suit jackets and present yourself a certain way. And I don't think that was from I don't know who could from my neighborhood could have transitioned that quickly. You know what I mean? Like, I
Hmm.
wear blazers now, but as a
That's
17-year-old
tough.
year old kid coming from my environment and then going there, I feel like I couldn't express myself. But with you, Herrick and Lav and all the Jelani, when y'all took me in and Barron, I knew I was at home, bro, because I knew it was the best education in the world. I was with people who knew how to win championships. And they also balanced this edge of coming from tough environments, but polishing that up to set the platform forward. And I was like, yo, this is where I need to be.
Absolutely. And when you first came to UCLA, man, you were like, you're really quiet, you were reserved. I really couldn't get a real read on you. And then you lived with me and Jelani, like your first 3 months in LA. Like, you stayed with us, and I was just kind of like, man, who is this dude, man? And I'm like, man, what the heck, man? Why you have this dude from Kansas City? So I'm doing my normal hating back then. I was just an asshole. I was a serious asshole. So I'm just doing all that to Earl. Earl just kind of, taking it and just laughing or but the thing I noticed about you, man, and I started to respect about you was just your demeanor, it was your character. It was like this guy is serious about his job, or he's serious about being here. He's serious about soaking up all this knowledge. He's serious about learning, and that kind of just endeared yourself to me, and I was always impressed with you from that standpoint. And then as a senior, when I was a senior, man, just you know playing with you that year, I felt like you and BD, you really helped my game transform into a potential NBA guy. You guys were really looking for me, man. I know Toby and these guys, but you guys were really looking for me. I think you were freezing out Toby. I think you were freezing out JR and passing it to me. But I just want to always tell you, I appreciate that, man. I averaged 21 that year, and I always appreciated how you froze out Toby and JR, man. I appreciate. Thank you, Earl. Thank you.
Hey, look, I've been playing with hoopers my whole life, dog. And, Toby and JR had a different style of game, but I knew when we needed a bucket, I had to convince Barrett to give it to you first. And if you couldn't get it off, it's going to come back to him. So I was like, I was like the psychologist on the court. But for me, bro, honestly, it was either succeed at UCLA or jail. Like, I couldn't come back here, bro. Like, I couldn't come back here without a degree.
Yeah.
Without momentum, without a job. I couldn't come back to where I was from.
Yeah.
I had to get my family out, and that was my whole focus. So I didn't have a lot of time to really relax and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And I think I'm starting to do that now with my kids, bro, honestly.
And kids will do that to you. They'll open up your eyes in a different perspective. They'll calm you a little bit. Allow you make you feel like it's okay to chill. After UCLA, you had a great career at UCLA. One of the storied point guards in our school's history. You were drafted to the Seattle Supersonics, and you had a 13-year NBA career. Now, a lot of people didn't think you were going to make the league when you were coming up. You weren't the surefire guy. You're like, the 4-star that, if he works hard, he's going to be solid. And so you kind of surprised a lot of folks. What do you think, what was the turning point, or what put you over that edge to where you started to convince? Was it workouts, private workouts with NBA teams? But you started convincing NBA front office that you were a legitimate draft pick.
I know how to win. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of people are too prideful to play to win every possession. Some people want the ball to score. They think that's the only way you can win. I knew how to just push buttons, bro. And then I started studying. I would draw plays since I was in probably high school, middle school, draw plays on my homework, all on my notebook. So I knew every offense. I knew how defenses rotated. I knew what looked right on a piece of paper and then transitioned in my mind on the court.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I've been winning my whole life. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've been on teams with top players in the country who couldn't win championships, and I would join that team in AAU. We won championships, and I knew how to make people better. And one thing about basketball for any player, any position now, because everyone can be a playmaker.
Right.
If you know how to make your teammates better and make them feel comfortable and better, I mean, like, where to give you the ball, how to give you the ball, when to give you the ball, the precision of passing the ball so you can get in your shot pocket quicker. You want to play with a player like that.
Absolutely.
Like, and I said this before, emotional maturity would take you further than talent ever will. So I knew I had to come in and I studied y'all a lot, man, from Kansas City. And I was like, yo, I'm going to come in there. I'm just going to play defense. I'm going to score when I got a chance to score. I'm going to make teammates better, and I'm going to rebound. I'm going to do all the X factor stuff that I saw that y'all was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I was able to just blend in with y'all quickly. And it's the best time of my life, bro. Like, y'all are my brothers forever. I wish I can get those moments back and enjoy life more, but I think I probably ended up different.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't take any of it for granted.
And I think those intangibles, if you want to call them, that you excelled in, I think that was a big reason why you stuck around in the league for 13 years. And then obviously you developed your game. Everything got sharper. Your jumper. I was just shocked to see how you were shooting it at one point, knocking down all these. Like I think I went overseas. I came back. You were working out. Saw you. I think it was pre-draft, like hitting like 20 deep NBA threes, and I'm like, that's Earl. You was buff. I'm like, man, this dude's living in the gym. No, you were buff, dog. I was like, hey, Earl got buff.
People don't realize in high school, bro, I was a scorer. I averaged probably 25 points my senior, 25 point easy. I could have averaged 30 or 40, but I wanted to make my teammates better.
Yeah.
I averaged 25 points, 13, 14 rebounds, 11, 12 assists. I averaged a triple-double. So for me, it was easy. But when I started playing with Jerron and Corleone and Ron Humphrey and Kareem Maurice Evans, or AAU team, our coach Myron Piggy, no one was recruiting me but like K-State, Nebraska, T. Lou from here, so he went to Nebraska. That was like fun, but I wanted to just go higher. Absolutely. And I asked Pig, I was like, man, like, how can I get the big schools to recruit me? And he was like, bro, you got to stop averaging 25 and 30 with Jerron. Like, you got to start passing the ball and be a point guard. So that's when I just humbled myself, got in my mindset on the summer circuit, and just start diming people up and then pick my moments. And I just continue to grow, even in the league. Sometimes in the league, I had to score or play defense. Depending on the team, I just observed and say, this is how I'm going to play.
Yeah. Shout out Peyton Watson, the recent UCLA signing out of Long Beach Poly. He's in the chat. That kid right there, Earl, you seen him play, right? He's a big
Yeah.
upside, 6'7", 6'8", toolbox, kind of Eddie Jones-ish on the defensive end, block, pin and stuff. Saw him against Josh Christopher last year at the Real Run Winter Classic, man. As a junior, Josh Senior, more than held his own. Hell of a game, big time. Thanks for stopping by, Peyton. But, Earl, I had this question about the league for you. So 13 years in the league, if you had to think about it and say, okay, this coach had the biggest impact on me, this veteran had the biggest impact on me, who would those two people be?
Immediately, it was Coach Wooden. You know how he was at UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
I would go visit him and pick his brain and just always wanted to be like him.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way he impacted a room and people, I thought it was just phenomenal. And his basketball mind was just so simple.
Mm-hmm.
It was simple, but it was deep. And then on my way I had NBA greats, man, coach me early, which later in my career, I knew when I was in the wrong spot or if a coach taught it wrong because I just had the greats.
Mm-hmm.
So I got drafted to Nate McMillan, Dwayne Casey in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to Hubie Brown, Jerry West, and Fratello in Memphis, right? With so many great players. And then I go to George Karl, Doug Moe,
Damn.
which you're talking about complete non-discipline,
Mm-hmm.
like Denver, coming from structural discipline. And my dad is a retired U.S. military drill sergeant, U.S. Army, right? So
Yes, sir.
I cannot function in no discipline. Like I can't do it. So
Absolutely.
I asked Kiki, who was a Bruin, who was the GM, I said, you got to get me out. I was a month in, bro, and I knew it was time for me to leave. I was like, you have to get me out of here. I don't do well in non-disciplined environments. That's why I went all the way from Kansas City to UCLA, because I came from a non-disciplined kind of social community experience. You know what I mean? Like I need discipline. Like I don't want to wild out. That's not me. So then I got, traded back to Seattle, and I had amazing people, man. I had Bob Hill, who's one of the greatest coaches I've ever been around, basketball minds.
Tremendous.
Then I had just so many other people. And then I ended up with in Indiana one year with Larry Bird. Frank Vogel was an assistant. Jim O'Brien was the head. And Jim O'Brien and Larry was the one that told me I should coach. And they were trying to get me to coach at the age of 30. I had more years to play. And I was like, I'm not ready to retire and become an assistant coach here at the Pacers. And that helped me because I ended up with Jerry Sloan in Utah. And then started my coaching career with Pop. But Terry Stotts also in Portland. And you see how they're hooping. They're balling. So he's an amazing coach. And started with Pop in San Antonio in the G League. So, like, when I get into a situation and it's not right, it's not my ego talking. It's my experience. Like, I've seen how you transform young players to identity, young teams to winners. And you can't tell me that's not how you do it unless you lived it.
Speaking of that, I wanted to talk about a player that you coached in the NBA, Devin Booker. Now, at first, they didn't name him to the All-Star team. It was whatever. Obviously, he deserves it. Adam Silver came in and named him to the All-Star team. Talk about what you've seen, the jump he's made since you coached him, how he's gotten better, development, what you see differently about this Suns situation going on right now.
Devin just always needed mature talent around him. And mature talent has no age. And that's where a lot of owners or front office people get it wrong. They think players are supposed to grow with each other by age. And this isn't a game of age. Success has no age, mandatory age requirement. You're either up here or you're not. And he's been up there. So when I first met Dev, we worked on him just playing off the bounce, man, because in Kentucky, he did limited amount of playing off the bounce. It was mostly catch and shoot and just quick drives. And I was like, bro, you got to learn how to dominate the game off the bounce using the pick and roll. You're 6'6", you don't need a handle. But we are about to break down all of this Kobe film. We would just break down Kobe film, footwork. I was sending them like Instagram posts. We're going to work on these moves tomorrow. And we just drilled it. And we started, honestly, bro, with Hubie Brown teaching. So Hubie Brown taught me a lot. He's real simple. Um, 2 dribbles past the screen, right? Ball screen, 2 dribbles removed, as he called it. And we got to activation points, which is the midpoint on the baseline. That's old school. Y'all call it dunker, right? The midpoint on the baseline, the elbows, east side of the court.
Oh, yeah.
And we limited just corner threes, wing three, slot three, top of the key three. We made it real simple.
Yeah.
You can give all the yam you want, but when you get to that screen, it's fundamental. 1, 2, right? And we just elevate, and we drilled it over and over. Then we went to the box, and we went to the elbows for post work, fades, counters, and elbow work without dribbles. And as he progressed, we started to visualize game winners. And I remember one time when I was still assistant, he wasn't playing, and we would always meet at ASU at night. He would come with his brother, and we'd have a talk. And he was fucking pissed, man. Like, he was like, Kobe didn't start like this. I want to be one of the best to ever play. And I'm sitting the bench. He was mad. I was like, yo, look, bro, we can sit here for 20 minutes and complain, or we can visualize who we going to be tomorrow, the next moment, or in the future. You choose. How good do you want to be? You want to be one of the best to ever play? You want to be an all-star, or you just want to make money? You tell me what you want to do, and I'm going to put together the structure and development to get you there, but we have to visualize it first. Absolutely. I need your verbal, imaginary commitment. And he committed to being one of the best to ever play. So we started working on crazy stuff, dog. Like Kobe left corner, fade away, game winners, all type of game winners and fades and game winner fades and in-game fades and counters. And the rest is history.
My dad just jumped in the chat. He said you had him talk to D-Book his rookie year. Talk to him about what it took to be great. So that it was that type of stuff as a coach. You were trying to constantly prepare these guys, and it sounds like you took a real hands-on approach as the head coach. Is that normal in the league for the head coach to really spend that much time in developing the star player, or is it pretty frequent?
I think it's not normal, but for me, I have so much energy and I'm young, and a lot of head coaches are older. They can't get on the court. Like, they can't really move. You know what I mean?
So, stop guys,
But for me, I don't know how you can draw plays for players if you're not on the court working them out. I don't know how you know their talent if you're not watching on the court moving with them. And with me, I played Dev in a lot of one-on-one because I feel like I was pretty good defensively. 2004, maybe I was 9th or 10th in Defensive Player of the Year for the Grizzlies. So NBA, right? So for me, I take pride in that. And by playing him in one-on-one, I started to learn his deficiencies. I started to learn his trends and his rhythms. And by learning his rhythms, I was able to create a better structure for how to get better. Because if I can read you and you come across a Pat Beverly, he going to read you. And once we figure out your bounces and because I count dribbles. 1, 2, I'm in you.
Then you rip it?
Yeah, like how I ripped you for game winner when you came back to play.
All right, whatever.
You know, that the one and the hezzy, and I was on the
Wait, hold on. Let's go over this. So after I finished UCLA, I came back on a tour team. EA Sports had these tour teams. We would travel around the country playing different colleges. The last game on the tour, I played UCLA, and it was such a big deal. It was like the year after I left. I come back to Paulie. It's all love, but the last possession of the freaking game. Go ahead, Earl. You let them know, man.
I count dribbles. Chris loves the one with the hezzy and the up. But you know one thing about basketball, dog? Everything that goes down comes through the chest.
Yeah, it do.
So I never reached for the ball. I reached for spots on the body points.
That's
right?
Sick. That's sick.
I will watch a player shooting a warm up and work on their game, and I will count their rhythms. Like 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, hip, chest.
That's real talk.
Straight through. So you know what I mean? So I knew how to just be there quicker than most people.
Absolutely.
And that's how I learned how to develop D-Book. I also had Bled too. We had to make Bled a better 3-point shooter. And simplify for him. But D-Book was the one I could grab early because you have 3 years in the NBA, bro, to become who you are with identity. And those first 3 years are so important. If a player is coming off the bench and he's getting limited minutes, he's that for the rest of his career. It's very hard to break through that mode. Because as creative as players are, I still think there's a lack of creativity and vision for those who coach and lead franchises because they get caught up in the numbers, they get caught up in what they see, and they don't be in the gym to see players' true games. You know, so you got to be in the gym and you have to live on the court in order to understand a player's magnitude of greatness. Yeah,
absolutely. A hot topic the last couple of days, has been the role of analytics in the NBA. A guy made a video just saying how nerds are ruining the NBA. Just full disclosure, I believe in analytics, but I wanted to get the opinion or the perspective from someone that actually was tasked with the job of marrying the numbers with the eye test and the on-court performance. Talk a little bit about your analytics staff in Phoenix, how much priority you placed on that stuff, Earl, and just in general, comment about just the role of analytics in today's game versus the role of like the eye test and people that feel they can judge talent based on just viewing.
Well, this is going to be a lot of unpacking. It's going to be all over, so track with me.
That's okay.
Analytics in the NBA, I first witnessed analytics with Hubie Brown,
Okay.
2003, 2005. But he didn't coach to the point analytics where it was overly bearing. He simplified it and taught us in a way where we only had certain spots on the court we could shoot at. And in the mid-range, it was the elbows and the midpoint. Anything in the paint was available. And beyond the three, it was corners and wings. We shot no threes at the top of the key. If you did, he wouldn't yell at you, but he didn't want it. All of our offense was created to catch at all those spots for shots. Curls, bumps, flashes, everything was only for that. He was the master of simplifying the only analytics you need in teaching, because you need analytics to win. I don't care what anyone said. You need numbers. But what you don't need is for numbers to dictate the flow of the game, right?
Yeah.
Now we're moving forward. Coaching in Phoenix. Devin Booker dropped 70 his rookie year. I didn't give a fuck. We was gonna go for 70. I'll try to get him 80. We only had 7 or 8 players playing. Our roster was cut. We was literally playing to get a #1 pick. So all the vets got set after All-Star break. So I feel like this was a great option to let Dev just go crazy, right? Because he has G League teammates. Just go crazy. Let's develop your offense and let's try to focus on defense. That takes time. Organically, that takes time for young defenders to grow to their like early 20s, mid-20s.
Sure.
Coming back the second year, I had analytics tell me, and I had an analytic coach who was assigned to the team, and I had an analytic department. And this is where we started to just separate with volatile conversations, right? They felt like analytically Devin was not a starter coming into his second year. I've been pushing that he would be the best player to ever wear a Suns jersey. They feel like he wasn't even a starter. And that's when it came to, I'm cool with having that debate in the analytic department. But when it comes into my coach's office and one of my head coaches, assistant head coaches, and the analytic coach starts to say that, we have a fucking problem. Like, I'm just being honest with you. Because I never saw Brandon Knight being better than Devin Booker. Never. And you can't win with 2 similar point guards in the backcourt playing. I knew when I played at UCLA, I couldn't shoot and do the things Barron did. It would throw off the flow of the team. Someone has to take a back seat. So I did all the other stuff, and that allowed you to average your 21, Toby to still get his 18 and 19. JR to still close. 19. You know what I mean? Like 19, whatever. Like, yeah, 19. You know what I'm saying? It just allowed everyone to flow. And when everyone would transition, eventually I would have my time a different way. So I fought that. I went against it. And the same people celebrate them now. It's the craziest thing ever. Like, oh, we know. You didn't know. Like, no. But I only knew because I played with Jerron Rush from 6th grade through UCLA, #1 player in the country. Corleone Young, #2 player in the country. And I'll start to understand the mindset of the greats. Yeah. Their mindset is different. How you allow them to grow is different. And their games are different. And you can't teach everyone the same way. Right. But I knew he was going to be that dude, and all he needed was a mature roster around him in order to be great. And I said this before, too. If Kobe Bryant would have never had a veteran team, he never would have been the champion he eventually became. If the Lakers would have grew Kobe with the same age players because of age, they would have been shitty most of his career, and become the whole label of champion would never have been. But they were smart. They said, this kid game is beyond. Let's partner him up with Shaq. Let's get Robert Ory. Let's get, Ron Harper. Let's
That's a
get,
great point.
B.
That's a great
Shaw.
point.
You know what I mean? Because these players can teach him how to live off the court,
Which
how
is
to
key.
be a professional, and on the court, when young players are rushing, they can grab and say, "Hey, look, bro, calm down. We're gonna go through Shaq. The ball's gonna reverse and come through you. You ain't got to get it off the first rotation." Like, you know what I mean? You need those players, bro.
Yeah.
And that's how I think you build a champion on any level, in any league, any level, but especially the NBA.
Yeah, that combination, man. Veterans are so important to the league. Speaking of today's league, Earl, I just want to get your thoughts on, first of all, what has jumped at you most? Look, we're in a time where we have to worry about coronavirus, the league, the start and stops, etc. Having been a coach in the NBA, how difficult is it to manage a roster under these conditions?
Um, I think it's difficult, but if you look at the league, the coaches have the power of the coaches left. Front office has all the power.
Mhm.
Coaches are almost mimicking or debating which direction to go.
Wow.
At the end of the day, front office controls everything, but the coach is held out for the face of what's wrong and right. And when
Hmm.
you really look at today, the social issues and the health issues, I see the league doing a great job with all the coronavirus health issues, right?
Okay.
Where I see the league needs to grow, and I'm kind of disappointed older African American coaches never did this because
Okay.
it falls into younger coaches' laps.
Hmm.
We need more people of diverse African American background in decision making positions.
Hmm.
If you get more of them in decision making positions, we don't have to worry about diversity in hiring coaches. But see, we keep focusing on we need to hire more African American coaches, when truly we need more African American people in the front office to make
Yeah.
that decision to hire the
Sure.
coaches, because the ownership they're not going anywhere unless someone buy them out and they sell their team, right? So you can't change that, but you have to change what you can change until eventually it's more minority owners. And it's scientific fact that people who look like other people hire those people. You
Mm.
don't have to be a racist to do it. You don't have to be anti-black to do it. It's just more comfortable doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I've been in draft rooms, and we talk about a lot of our players in this league are African American. And I hate to say this, but people still don't understand our culture. They are so afraid of the culture that we really have to
Mm.
debate if the kid is a good kid based on his family. And those debates are only from African American kids. Like, what about the European kids? I don't hear about their uncles or their dads, or if the dad's not around where he is. I don't hear that in the draft room. But I
Mm.
hear all the black kids where their dad is at, or their family situation. So we need more people in the room to calm that shit down.
Absolutely.
It's right, because that shit isn't cool. And me, UCLA way, we don't stay silent for nothing. So we need people to calm that down and just say, hey, look, at the end of the day, if that kid's family or friends went off into the deep end and he stayed on the right track, he is good, because he wouldn't be here if he wasn't. Now, we're not going to completely separate from our family based on their history, because we have to still lead the light. But no other race is told to do that either for
Mm.
racism, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
let's just stay focused and focus on the kid and interview the kid and see who he is. And you can take into account his history and his family structure and his friends, but kids outgrow that situation, because I was one of those kids. So I
Yeah.
know it's possible.
How much, I mean, does a kid that gets into the league, a young guy, you're given millions of dollars, you have plenty of time on your hands at all times. How much of a role did you feel when you were a player to take it upon yourself to mentor these young men? Talk about talk to them about the financial literacy, or saving their money, making their money last, how to be a professional, what types of foods to eat. Is that something that you weren't really the role of, or did you embrace that type of role?
I embraced that later in my career, when I feel like the competition of where I was at didn't have to be so isolated. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that, if I'm going against another player for minutes or position, or even in just contracts, I'm not really here to really help you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that many people playing the league. But as I got older and I got wiser, and I saw, like, I was in my 10th to 13th year,
Hmm.
16 years total in the NBA, right? 10 to 13 as a player.
Wow.
By my 12th, by 11th, 12th, 13th year, I would grab players. In my last year, I was really influential, I think, in, Will Barton, Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, even Myers Leonard, right? I would just make them. But if the first bus was leaving at 4:30 to go to the game, I would get CJ, who wasn't playing, Myers Leonard wasn't playing, Will Barton, T Rob, and say, look, we're going with an assistant coach. We're going over early, and we're going to fucking go hard. We're going to run these stadium stairs, right? We're going to play 2-on-2, 3-on-3. We're not bullshitting. We're going to go at each other. And when our teammates walk in and the other team walk in and they see how hard we're going, our teammates can't play less than that. We already won the damn game. You know what I mean? Like, we already won. Like, and that's the mindset, because your time is going to come in the NBA, whether you're drafted high or drafted second round. And if you're not mentally ready and physically ready, you're going to lose your moment and your opportunity forever. So let's stay focused. Let's get ready. And I think for all of them, the rest is pretty much history.
And that's pretty much the most important part of being. Real quick, let me shout out our boy Rico Hines is in the building.
Rick?
Oh yeah, Rico is up in here, man. I can't believe it, dog. Puerto Rico. But no, but Earl, just segueing over into the current today's NBA. LeBron's about to retire. Sort of that older guard, Chris Paul, Melo. That crew is kind of phasing out. Who do you think is going to be the next face of the NBA for the next 10 to 15 years?
I don't think the next face of the NBA is one face. I think it's many faces of the NBA. LeBron has solidified the face of the NBA, but you still got other guys like Steph who's just been there, and people, KD and Kawhi. So there's not one face. No longer Mike. You know what I mean? Even Kobe had to share the platforms, and I think you got a wave of young players coming in, man. You can throw D-Book into that mix, and you go even younger. You got Luka, you got LaMelo. You got still going to be there. You got KD, who's still going to be there. You got Kawhi, who's still there.
Tatum.
So the NBA's Tatum. The NBA's in good hands. I'm not worried about that. What I watch when I watch the NBA is I watch that second row of coaches. That second row of coaches behind the coaches that sit on the bench are your future head coaches. And when I watch that second row, I ask myself, where are all the black coaches? But they can't be an assistant behind the bench. Where are they? That second row is important, because if that second row eventually moves to the front row and then moves to the head, and there's no one in that second row, what does that tell you about the future of the black professional athlete in the NBA? He's not good enough to be in that second row, but he's good enough to play. And that's why you see a lot of former athletes go to TV, because they don't get those opportunities to coach and teach. And I think that is the topic of conversation that writers don't even write about, but they know about. It's like they're so afraid to touch it, but yet they want to touch all the social issues on other sports or in the community. Handle your home first. If you write about the NBA, keep it real. And then go outside what you don't write about. And to me, that is the focus that I see. But the game itself is on a platform that's elevating. It's dynamic. These kids are coming in way more skilled and talented than ever before. Points per game are going to go up. Field goals per game are going to go up. Attempts. Game is going to get better. But what I don't like is all the damn isolation. Like, where you can get ball movement and rotation, moving the ball into an isolation.
Earl, what are they going to do with their 17 triple step backs? I mean, you got to have space to be able to get that off. You got to be able to do zing, 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 bop, 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 bop. You got to be able to do that, right?
So let me ask you a question. If analytics controls where you shoot on the court, why they don't control ball rotation?
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like the minute I seen San Antonio leave their offense, I was like, damn, analytics is real. Like the whole ball reversal, Tony Parker cutting to the weak side, catching it, getting a step up from Tim Duncan and playing back. You can run all of that and then spray out.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't imagine being a player who don't touch the ball the whole possession until it's time to shoot. Like, I want to touch it and move it. Like, I want to move. Like, basketball is about rhythm and soul and, the bounce and, the swag and all the timing shit. that I think we're losing. Now I'm just watching people spread out, come up and give you all day dribble, individual workout into a pick and roll, into a three. And it's like, damn, bro, like, I like seeing it. It's cool, but move it. I want to see some good basketball.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I enjoy this brand of basketball that's out now. It's definitely entertaining. I like seeing the scoring. I'm just blown away at the level how guys are just knocking down so many shots. How the shots that we used to work on back in the day and thought we had a unique move. It's like normal for everybody to do it now. The step backs, the runners, the floaters, all that little in between stuff that made us unique. It's like it's a prerequisite to have in your package these days. As an NBA player, but I enjoy that part of it too, as far as watching it. Quickly on just LaMelo Ball, I just wanted to get your thoughts. We've been around him, and you were both involved in the JBA several years ago, LeVar Ball's league that he launched pretty much as a developmental league for LaMelo. So we got to see him firsthand. What are your thoughts on him in first impressions of him in the NBA?
Everything we thought, his game was ahead of his time. Mass media didn't want to give him his platform until almost, right before the draft, where he all of a sudden became a top pick.
Mm-hmm.
And his game has been the same. He just got stronger, taller, sharper. If you couldn't see it then you basically just riding the wave now. I'm just being 100 with you.
100.
You have no vision.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? I'm just keeping it real. You have all those people on TV said he wouldn't get drafted. You have no vision. Like, this is not the game for you. But he's always been ahead of his time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for real. He's
Yeah.
always been ahead of his time. He's always been a savant. He's always been able to score. He's always been getting off the crafty, unique, unorthodox game with the floaters and the shot. Yeah, it's just all repetition. And he is a non-pattern player, where Lonzo is the pattern player.
Mm-hmm.
You can give any non-pattern player structure,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to give them space to be Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you keep a Baron Davis into a structured offense the whole game, you lose the creativity of the mind of a Baron Davis.
Absolutely.
I needed structure the whole game.
Me
Give
too.
it to a non-structured player like you on the block with the footwork and the heads. These are Baron, you know what I mean? On the reversal, on the block. Like, I needed structure to a non-structured player.
For sure.
I don't want the ball in my hands at the end of the game to make that play unless it's a pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what Melo brings. He brings the ability to win, and he's not even a grown man yet. Imagine when he's 23 to 25, and you cannot tell me he will not be one of the faces of the NBA, because he has the it factor. He has it, all of it. Define it, he has it, and that's just who he is.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago, being on the road with him in the JBA, we were traveling to Chicago, to the East Coast, Virginia. He had already built up like a cult following. Kids were lining up, people were wearing Triple B stuff. That league got a lot of whatever negative press, notoriety, but to witness that firsthand, how much people loved that kid. He was a rock star, and that's how I've always viewed him. As far as his game, man, the thing that I think stands out the most to me is his level of conditioning and that speed he plays at all the time. It's very rare I see him tired or, putting his head down after a bad play. Those are the things he shakes off. He moves on to the next play probably better than any young player that I've ever seen. And I think that's why he's been able to make such a consistent impact in the league.
I think Rico can tell you at the runs, Rico's runs, we seen Melo go against Trae Young. And Melo was, I think he was like 16 at the time, maybe about to be 17. And I couldn't tell who was better. And then Trae came to me, was like, yo, he's good. I'm like, yeah, young players will give young players props, bro. Like, he was like, yo, he's good. I was like, yeah, he is good. And he was taller, right? Trae got that rocket. Melo don't have that yet. But everything else Trae was doing, Melo was doing easier, because he was just seeing over the defense.
Absolutely.
Right? Getting to the spots on the court off the bounce and making plays. And he was making too many plays for other people. And I was like, yo, look, let me tell you something. You're eventually going to be a top pick. You cannot come into the league being passive. Be who the hell you are. Everyone will adjust. When you out here, whatever your game is, that's your game. It's passing and scoring, but don't just be a straight passer, because now you lose your it factor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He took it, and then he ran with it. And then Reek was like, yo, you got to play defense. Reek was like, yeah. And he took it and he ran with it, and they played like 2.5, 3 hours, right?
Uh-huh.
And after they played, Melo got off to the side court and did all of his individual workout drills over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I knew he was a pro, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a pro's mentality. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
hoop, and then I'm going to go do my drills that I did earlier in the day. I'm going to do them again to end the night or end the evening, and maybe do something later like yoga. But you could tell he was there already mentally.
He loves it. He loves it. He lived it. He lives in the gym. He loves the gym. Rico said, and he wanted all the smoke, and he did
All of
not
it.
hide, bro.
Did not hide, yo.
That's what I'm
Hey,
talking about.
that's real. That's real. A
Yeah.
lot of people would be timid. He came and he drove from Chino.
Yeah.
How long is that drive from Chino to
So,
LA?
an hour something, 30,
Just a
35,
just a
40.
hoop all day, and
Nah,
he didn't miss days. And
that's
there's a
what's
lot of
up.
players I never seen make any drives like that to come hoop. So I knew he was different.
And that's why he's so good. And Earl, so I got one more question for you, man, and then I'm gonna let you go. It's been a great conversation. I wanted to end on this note. I wanted to talk about and touch on the NBA players and their impact on the social justice movement. Where do you think we go from here? You know, we saw a lot of symbolic gestures, stuff on the floor, donations to certain organizations, this and that. A, do you think that was enough to make a difference? B, do you think the league should do more? And C, is it even the role of NBA players to use their platform to champion social issues?
Well, this is going to be a lot to unpack again.
That's okay.
You know, we went to a great university, who was the #1 public university in the world. I graduated in history. And I studied leadership from every era, right, around the
Mm-hmm.
world. And unfortunately for the African American community, our leaders were assassinated early in life. We don't have any voices to make that change, but those who come from the community as kids. And you got to come from the community as an entertainer or an athlete, right? In terms of
Mm-hmm.
the actors or rappers, singers, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us to deliver our narrative in any platform we get.
Mm-hmm.
So with the soccer player the other day or yesterday talking about LeBron needs to basically stay in his
Yeah.
lane,
Yeah.
we don't have the luxury of fucking doing that.
Mm.
We don't have that luxury to saying we have
No.
an elder African American leader, if Martin was still alive, to handle that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we have to take on the brunt of all of it, and whatever smoke we get from that is just the way we live. And that's why I'm saying there has to be more diversity in decision making situations and opportunities in the league to understand the why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Mm-hmm.
don't think we would rather just hoop and focus on our family and put all our energy and mindset to just basketball, but we cannot do that, because if we don't say it, no one's going to say it.
And so
So
let me ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Where do you think that pressure to speak out comes from?
Well, Tupac said you can't go to war until your money right? So you got to be at a certain point financially in your life where you realize you're going to have persecution and repercussion. And if you speak too loudly, if you're not the elite and the best like a LeBron, you would be exiled quickly. That's just the truth, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, LeBron's taking on that brunt. That's why people say he's the GOAT, because no one that got to that platform before him, besides the elders, such as a Kareem and your
Bill
pops here,
Russell. Bill
right,
Russell.
wanted to
Mm-hmm.
say something. And then it came back to LeBron and just took it and ran with it. And he's creating leadership of all kinds of people, not just black. And I think the future of the NBA is exactly what it is. And when basketball players understand at any age they have the power,
Mm-hmm.
they can make change quicker. The NBA understands the players have the power. And as
Mm.
long as you plan in the NBA is going to follow the lead of the players, which is why they're following LeBron. They followed Mike. They followed Kobe. They followed Lou, Alcin, Kareem, that whole Bill Russell, the whole era. They followed them as much as possible. But with this cell phone thing, now is the better time. There's no better time than now to just stand for what is right. And what is right has no gender. It has no race. It has no, interior motive. What is right is right. So you have to continue to shed a light, continue to push forward, continue to be on the right side of history, so our kids can maybe one day just focus on their craft.
Absolutely. Earl, well put. I'd like to thank you for joining the show, man. I appreciate you for coming through.
I got one thing.
What?
Stay off my Jazz. Don't get upset. don't get upset because they smacked your Lakers and like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you want to celebrate a good month.
I'm
Stay off
cool.
my
I'm
Jazz,
cool.
bro.
You saw me
Say,
retweet
I
that
saw your
shit.
little
You
tweet,
saw?
your little
I
retweet.
retweeted that. That
Yeah,
was
I saw your little retweet. You know,
yo.
we
Y'all
know
got.
you a LeBron fan. You love the
It's
Lakers.
whatever. It's whatever.
Say you, I purposely don't cheer for LeBron publicly just to piss you
I
off. Like,
already know, dog. I already know, dog. Trust me. I already know.
but I purposely just say little stuff just to
You
get you mad.
like the other day when you was like, I never seen so many people get all grown men in their feelings about bro. I
I
saw
say
that shit.
I say it just for you,
I
bro.
saw
Cause
that shit.
I love when you text me life threatening text like say another word,
Come
cuz.
on, man.
Hey, look, we keeping it real on here. You want me to be
We keeping it
professional?
real.
Like,
We keeping
you
it
know what
real,
I'm saying?
dog. We keeping
That's
it real.
hey, that's what makes it great, dude. I'm like, I'm about to piss Chris off. Oh,
Oh, you funny, brother, man.
love you,
Hey,
bro.
I
Love your
love you too,
family.
man.
Tell
I
the fam I
appreciate
said
you.
what's up, and we'll link soon, bro.
I will, brother. Thank you so much, Earl. I'll
All right,
talk to
bro.
you soon.
All
All
right.
right, peace.